I'm Ben Akers. I'm one of the co-founders of this thing, and I'm also co-founder of Talk Club, but we'll talk about that in a minute. And it's all based around, Talk Club's all based around how are you out of 10? So that's why I'm saying numbers. Yes, I was a 9 only probably half an hour ago, but I'm a bit nervous. There's lots of faces here. And also, we had a chat outside. Where's she gone? She ran away from me. She's there. And we had a chat outside. So me and Hannah are going to have an honest conversation. A little bit about vulnerability, I think, aren't we? So it all depends how vulnerable we get. We're going to talk about our stories, how we got to where we got to, while we're here. And we got some very loose questions, but we'll sort of see where it goes. Over to you.
Oh yeah, thanks. I was going to wear a skirt and I thought no, because they always put you on stools, so I'm glad that I put my jeans on. So I don't know why I'm holding this, you're in charge.
I've seen a line.
Oh yeah, hi. Hi, I'm Should we talk about our t-shirts?
Yeah, go on in.
Yeah. Okay, so I got this t-shirt last week. I'm so happy with it because I listen to the Jurassic Park opening song every morning. If you've never done it before, really recommend you do that if you don't go down to the beach. It makes me feel so good every day like I live in a movie. But this t-shirt is by an artist called Spelling Mistakes Cost Lives. Show of hands, anyone know who that is? Yeah, he's got his hell bus going around the UK at the moment. Which is basically taking the piss out of Shell. And I saw this t-shirt, and the actual dictionary definition meaning of corporate manslaughter is a business taking action or inaction when causing a person's death. So there's probably quite a lot of companies out there that we think are actually taking inaction when it comes to the planet's death. So I thought it was a pertinent t-shirt. So aggressive, but pertinent. Over to you.
And the fact that you listen to...
And the fact that I listen to the song every day, I was like, yeah.
Yeah, I might be doubling up here, so I've got a hand mic on. So yes, what we're going to do is we've done 3 questions, but the idea is to sort of like almost open it up to you guys. If you've got any questions for us, so we're going to talk through. We're going to do 90 seconds on who we are and sort of almost like where we got to as this thing, because I don't want to. We could go on for hours on those things. So do you want to go 90 seconds first, or do you want me to? Okay, I'll go. So as I said, I'm Ben Akers. I grew up in advertising, so I used to run, I was a copywriter, then a creative director. I used to run ad agencies, worked in London, worked in Sydney, got into sustainability in Sydney, came back here, started making a film about the environmental impact of clothes, and while I was doing that, my childhood best friend took his own life. So I was dealing with this new career as a filmmaker and sort of in sustainability and working on that world, and I was working at Futera at the time, and dealing on the other side with the fact that my childhood best friend thought it was better to die than live. So 3 years of therapy and trying to ask why. I was sitting in a hammock in France, and I decided I was going to make a film about this problem, the fact that suicide is the biggest killer of men under 50, statistically the thing most likely to kill me is me. And I made a film called Steve, and while I was testing this film, someone said to me, okay, now what? And I was like, oh fuck. Okay, well, I've interviewed all these amazing people in this film all about this great stuff that's happening. So now I'm a CEO of a charity I didn't mean to start. And we've been running a charity for 2 years, running for 4. We've got 77 clubs around the world, everything from talking exercise, talking football, talking. Then we go to talking groups, and then we've got Talk Club Therapy. And the back to the t-shirt is one of our things is about this line. Everything's based around how you out of 10 and mental fitness. And I sort of like, I've got Liam Gallagher in one of these shirts. I've got Tyson Fury in one of these shirts. I'm wearing the Idols at the moment. So like, that's me in probably just over 90.
Thank you for sharing that. I'm Hannah Cox. I run 2 businesses, one called Better Not Stop, which is a sustainable impact agency, and I made that up, so you can call your business that too if you like. We started helping businesses become B Corp certified, but now we do impact strategies. We do a lot at music festivals around audience behaviour change and sustainability. And then when I started that business, I was trying to connect with like-minded business owners, and I was sick of being the only green person in the room, or the person that kind of was even considering my purpose. So I started something called the Better Business Network, and we've now got nearly 200 members in that organisation. And in January we won something called the Better Business Summit, and I'm lucky there's some people who contributed to that in this room today. How I got here, I don't really know. I worked in music for 10 years, loved it, but didn't find that it was like, changing the world. So I went on a big trip. I travelled overland from the UK to Bhutan on a trip I called the Road to Happiness, Royal Geographical Society expedition. And on that trip, I thought I want to have something that has social impact. So I started something around travel 3 months before COVID, and that was not a good idea. And then during COVID, I'd wanted that business to be a B Corp business, and then everything kind of just started to fall into place for what I wanted to do. And I'm really lucky to love my job. Yeah, that's me.
Fantastic. I feel like I want to clap on that. Thank you. So we've already done a little bit of that, but do you want to expand on why you do what you do? And then I'll pick up after that. Why do you do what you do?
I don't know, because also I got these questions in advance, so I thought I'd be like super prepared for this talk, but I actually found that even more challenging than like just being asked a question.
You wrote these questions.
Yeah, I know. Why does everyone think you're so good looking? That's going to be the next question asked. So I think I do it because I think there'll be probably quite a lot of business owners in here, or people that really feel that their career is their passion and their purpose. And I think sometimes, for me, it almost was like I saw a problem and I actually thought, I think I know how to solve this. And no one else is doing it, so I might as well do it. And also I wanted to just wake up every day and just enjoy the problems that I was solving in my work, and feeling like what I was doing was making a difference. And I like to think that that's what my work does at the moment. And I think the day that I wake up and it's not that, then I probably won't do it anymore.
Cool.
But then I'll just put on the Jurassic Park opening song. I'll be like...
So the idea was that we did this together. We wrote these questions. She wrote most of these. So, but we've almost forgot as well. This whole thing is meant to be about stories and about that like almost with chatting over with Matt and Laura, like those moments that you can actually go, my life changed for me. I've got a few of those moments. One was obviously when Steve passed, but there was also this moment where I was working in advertising and I wasn't enjoying myself. I looked at myself in the mirror and I go, I don't know who you are anymore. I don't know why you're doing what you're doing. And I sort of said, okay, what do you really want to do? What is really, really important in your life? And my dad never walked me to school. Never walked me to school. So I want to be different than that. I wanted to sort of like, so I quit everything and moved everything to build to the point where I could walk my eldest daughter, I've got 3 kids under 11, so my eldest daughter to school for her first day. That's what I wanted to do. I wanted to be in her life, to be part of that thing. And I built everything else around those moments of me walking my kids to school. So why I do what I do is I think that in 20 years of advertising where I was sort of taught or given the belief that I could actually achieve things with ideas, I describe myself as a problem solver. I like to sort of look at a problem and go, okay, how can creativity solve that? So that was where my answer on this was going to be a bit more like, why I do what I do is I see there are lots of problems out there, and I believe, arrogance maybe, that I can help change that.
That wasn't nodding at arrogance. That was a much better answer than mine. I'm going to change mine really quickly to like a really quick story. My business is called Better Not Stop, and I often get told, like, oh, I really like the name of your company. And it's probably the only good name I've come up with, because I used to run a club night called Monday Club. Like I run a business network called the Better Business Network. You know, there's not much, going on up there in like names. But it was actually something my dad said to me about when I was 26. He died when I was younger. We didn't have a very good relationship. We started to have one and then he died. But he worked at Glaxo for 40 years and hated his job. But did it because he had kids to raise. He divorced from my mum and dad were divorced. He kind of had like 2 households and stuff. And he just said, just don't stop. You better not stop doing what you love to do because I love to see you do work you enjoy. And at the time, I actually really hated my job. And I was like, oh, yeah, I do love it. Thanks, Dad. And I thought, yeah, he's right. Do you know what? I do need to just do stuff I want to do because I don't want to end up 60 thinking I'm about to retire and do all those things that I was going to do. And then I can't do them because life throws me a curveball. So I think that's why I do what I do. But I think I can feel myself shaking talking about it. So that's probably why I did Jurassic Park.
Yeah. But that's the thing, isn't it? You sort of like, you've got this, let me go there just for the people about,
But that's the thing. We are everything about our past. We are what gets us to this point, what gets you into this room. And a lot of what we found in the Good Fest that we've done so far is the generosity in the room and the questions you ask for yourself. So this was your question, and then you don't know whether you like it or not, right? So we were playing around with the idea of misconceptions. So what do people think about you? And then you start going, okay, well, is it a misconception? Like do people think that you know nothing and you know nothing, you're making it up as you go along, or is that just your misconception of the misconception? So we're debating exactly. So we're debating out this question, but then we've only met an hour ago, 45 minutes ago. We had a 45-minute conversation. We talked mainly about South London, and when we were chatting outside, one of the misconceptions that I think people have got about me is that people think I'm an extrovert. People think I'm loud and bolshy. People think that I'm confident. I have confidence. I have a lot of inner confidence, yes, but I'm an introvert. I'm actually a very introverted person. I find you lot exhausting, right? I've pressed a button. So for those who don't know about the balance between extrovert and introvert, created by Mr. Jung, and it's about where you get your energies from. So I find I love people. I love I love meeting new people. I love talking to people. I'm a filmmaker. I run a charity with over 3,500 men that I talk to. People are very important in my life, but I find it exhausting, and it's only a work I've done on myself in the last year that I started questioning all the stuff that when I was growing up. I'd be like, I'd go to parties and I'm going, I can't handle this. I need to go and find a quiet place, or I'd go to the toilet and sit in there. I'm that bloke in there for 10 minutes, right? Or I'd go outside and like people would come out, and when the phones come in, when everyone got phones, that was brilliant because I could pretend I got a call. And it was like, but I find I need my own space. I need to sort of just calm down and get that energy back. And my wife thinks it's like, you're just being lazy, aren't you? You're just trying to get away from the kids. But it is and it isn't. I need to be quiet. I need some space. And actually, when I come out of this room, because there's lots of people looking at me at the moment, I will go outside and I will just get 5 minutes to myself, just to breathe, just to sort of center myself again. So a misconception that people have got about me is that they think that I'm confident, but there isn't a confidence there. I've got a confidence in myself. But I remember being 11 and going, I'm not going to get past the ball if I carry on being quiet. And so I walked in the next day, third or fourth day at school, secondary school, and I wasn't being passed the ball at football, and I go, okay, I'm going to reinvent myself now. I'm going to reinvent myself as this loud bloke who can, I'll go up and I've done my TED talk in front of 1,000 people. I'm fine with these things, but I have to work really, really hard on it. And this jacket is my armour. I put this jacket on, and suddenly I'm Ben the performer. Hello, give me a microphone, right? But it's not natural to me. So the actual definition is I'm an extroverted introvert. So that's the misconception people might have about me.
No, and when we spoke outside, I was like, oh, me too, but then I can't say that when we're, when we're here. And I actually been thinking about it a lot, because obviously we had the question, and then I've asked some friends, and I even went on LinkedIn and asked people. I was like really like stressed about the answer. And thinking about it also, it's because I run a business, which means that you're constantly making decisions all the time, and you have to make decisions quickly. You know, you don't really have time to think about, like, is this the right one or the wrong one? You just need to make a decision. And when I was originally pitching for funding, I used to have to do this thing. I don't know if anyone's had to pitch for money before. It's awful. They basically say, we'll decide whether we give you money if you can describe your business in 60 seconds, you know. And it's awful, and it's very stressful. And I was going through this kind of pitch process pre-COVID, and I'd be shaking, and I'd be stumbling my words and really just struggling with trying to articulate what I did and why I did it and all those kind of things. But I was also telling a story to Matt earlier about the Better Business Summit this year, and our closing speech dropped out. And we were like, shit. So we just told everyone it was like a secret special guest, and hoped that like someone would, you know, would come in, you know, like Yvonne Shenard would just like come over, or Richard Branson or something. We're like, we can help. Because we wanted to like end it on this kind of really like impactful kind of, you know, thing. And then we realised on the day that we still didn't have anybody, and that I was probably going to have to do it. But me and James sat there, I think we were so busy during the day. It was about 3:30. I think the closing speech was at 4:20. And me and James just sat there kind of on the delegate desk, like frantically writing something that we thought would inspire everybody at the end of the summit. We had an amazing video as well, actually, that Russ Avery from Avery and Brown had written us. So I had that like backup. I was like, I'll just play the video if I can't say anything. And but actually going out there and just speaking and just naturally is so much easier for me. And preparing for stuff is actually a lot harder for me. So I think the misconception people have about me is because I can just jump on a stage and talk and and get on with stuff, and I will put myself out there. And I've got some chocolate bars that, in case no one liked me, and I'd like, I've got chocolate I can give at the end. I've got some.
We'll have that beer and bars. In
Beer
a minute,
bars.
Yeah.
But that was because I was at an event, and I just saw the MD of Tony's Chocolonely, and I was like, I'm just going to go talk to him and try and get this kind of thing sorted out, and I'll tell you about that in a little bit. But I'm much more better thinking on my feet than actually planning, and I think the misconception about people is they see that as a confidence, but for me it's because if I mess up, I'm like, well, I didn't really prepare anyway, so it's absolutely fine.
But do you think that there's something in the sort of like, I mean, like, the way that we learn, my wife was a dancer, so she literally has to sort of, she'll choreograph stuff through, and like when trying to remember a talk or whatever like that, and she'll do it, and I'll go, I'm just going to wing it, right? And she's sort of like, no, please don't wing it. And I did a talk to, there was 3,000 people at this sort of big gala. Sorry, there was this big gala, and there was 3,000 people at this big gala it was a big funding gala for Lend-Lease, a construction company, and there's 3,000 people there. And we turned up at a hotel, and we were sort of, and Claire goes, my wife goes to me, so what's your talk? And I go, to be honest, I'll wing it. And she's like, no, please don't wing it. Please don't do that, because what happens if you fuck it up? And I'm like, well, that's my style. Do you know what I mean? It's sort of like I'm going to lean into that. If I come up too polished, I want people to like me and like what we're trying to achieve here. I'm not going up and talking about tractors. I'm talking about mental health and male mental health. And if you end up trusting me, so it's a fine line, because you're sort of going, if I come up too polished, then it's going to come across. It might come across as insincere, right? And my story's real. I'm standing up talking about my dead friends. So if I prepare this too hard, and that was even with my TED Talk. My TED Talk was so effing hard for me, because like there was so much pressure about people putting it on me, about going, oh, you're doing a TED and stuff like that. And we had a coach, and I had to submit a talk that was like 12 minutes long. I had to memorise this talk, and it wasn't going in. It just wasn't going in. And I'm sort of going like, and I woke up that morning, and the morning of the TED, and I dreamt that Steve was still alive, and I was going to ring my coach, and I was going to ring Caroline and go, oh mate, I'm really sorry, I can't do it. Steve's still alive, and I believe for about 5 minutes that he was still alive, and I got up on stage because I was terrible in the practice the day before, and I got up on stage and I did our practice in the morning, and I broke down, and all the tech people are just standing there, and I broke down and cried on this stage.
And everyone's going, oh, he ain't gonna. I'm like, we're slick down in Tunbridge Wells, right? We know what we're doing down here, right? He's one of 12. He's rubbish, right? And I sort of like when my wife turned up, and I ended up talking to my co-CEO, who's a therapist, and he's sort of like, just ground yourself, put your feet in the ground, and I'm like, and everyone's going, you don't need to do it, and I was like, but I sort of need to do it, and I think I over-prepared, if that makes sense. And the video, I mean, they cut around me. It was brilliant. Like that's a great, but that's the thing. And one of the reasons why we've got the success that we've got as a charity is because I leaned into that. I sort of went. I need to. It's something I'm not comfortable with, but I know it will benefit the charity. It will benefit our story. It will benefit. It will save lives.
I'm going to go back to this because that was what we were going to call this, but we couldn't get the tech right. So the idea is all about putting yourself out there. So that's what we're trying to do on this. We're trying to sort of show a little bit of our vulnerability, and about sort of saying if being vulnerable, putting your balls on the line, and sort of going, believing in yourself, it can work. What did you find the biggest challenges in growing your community?
Well, I won't give the boring answer, which is like money. Because, I know that's obviously what we need to have to run businesses, but often I'm always kind of more focused on what's going to be the best thing to do, rather than kind of thinking about the kind of nuts and bolts stuff. But I think the biggest challenge for me is people understanding we're an ever-evolving beast as well. Our members are our community. We learnt down in the meadow, it's not me or James or Ryan or Trey who used to work with us, or Emily. It's watching it's almost like an out of control beast now, how people are treating each other. I think the biggest challenge for me is it turning into something that doesn't provide the value that we want it to be providing for our members is really important, like for me personally. But I'd say, the biggest challenge is we have a community of people who really care about purpose, who really care about sustainability and impact, and are very switched on when it comes to their kind of politics and science and stuff. So it actually becomes quite a scary space in which to talk, and often we'll have to have an opinion as a community. We had to have an opinion as a community on ecology last year, and that really kicked off. And I was having to kind of make a decision on behalf of members of the community and kind of put your line in the sand, and that was a difficult decision to make, and there was lots going on behind the scenes for that to happen. So I think sometimes the challenge is people just assume, maybe the misconception thing, we're just kind of making sweeping decisions and statements for when we're making decisions as a kind of management team, whereas actually there'll have been a lot, kind of that behind the scenes of we're very conscious of when we're making decisions, how we make them, how we talk about it, because we know when we talk as the Better Business Network, we're also representing the people who have chosen to acknowledge themselves as Better Business Network members, and we never want to put our members feeling that they can't have their voices heard. So for us, it's trying to create that nurturing environment where if we say something or do something that our members disagree with, then rather than them leave, they feel that they've got a space where they can come to us and talk about it. And we've got an incredible retention rate. I think we've got something like 8% of people have left, and I think about 80% of, those people were they'd gone and got a full-time job in sustainability or impact, so they decided not to be a freelancer anymore, or someone had got pregnant, so is taking maternity, so had chosen to leave the network for a bit. So I feel like we're keeping that. I think for me, it's like when it grows, when it scales, when it's probably something as big as what you're doing with Talk Club, how do we keep it the beast we wanted? Or does it even have to be that? Should we just allow it to be what it needs to be? Does that make sense?
Yeah.
I mean, where we are, I'm swimming against the tide when it comes to sort of male mental health. That's the problem. You sort of, everyone knows mental health is important, but I need men and women, but I need mainly men to sort of reframe about how they think about themselves. Like we understand, like, so that's the reason why we talk about mental fitness. So at Talk Club, we talk about mental fitness, and it's back to advertising and communication world. Words matter. When you reframe it as mental fitness, it feels a lot more manageable. Because when so in the film that I made, Steve, the first film, we can talk about my second film later. But the first film, I get all my best friends together. There's a section called the Round Table where I get all my best friends together and I ask them what mental health is, and all of them start going to mental ill health. They all start talking about depression and anxiety, and if you Google it, you sort of like we've created these algorithms, we've created these images where we've tagged them in there, and they're all negative. And so if you Google mental health, it's negative stuff, and if you Google physical health, then you see positive affirmations. You see sort of people running, and you see people doing yoga, and so that's the reason why we try to reframe it as mental fitness, because we know that there's such a negative world out there, and we're chipping away at it. We're not making big strides. We're chipping away at, like, you guys are, the fact that you're here are the elite of intelligence when it comes to open-mindedness. So we're trying to get to those blokes who are builders, who are working 18-hour days and are trying to they get the world's on their shoulders, everything's falling apart, and they're going, maybe it's better for everyone if I'm not here anymore. Those are the sort of like blokes that I'm trying to get to. So that's the biggest problem we've got inside the community, is trying to tap into those type of. I need every man over the age of 18 in Talk Club. I need every, we all need to be looking after our physical health. We all need to be looking after our mental health. And I get asked quite a lot, why is Talk Club only for men? And we will be going to working with women, and the new project we're working with kids. But the whole fact is that 76% of suicides are male, and men don't talk. We don't know how to talk, right? It's a foreign language to us. You might as well go and speak Latin to your mate, right? So that's what my biggest problem with the community is, trying to get to the men that we need. Like, we got a really interesting, when we got Liam Gallagher in a t-shirt, we got a very interesting, and he did a music video for us, so Too Good for Giving Up, fabulous. Watch it, it's a 4-minute advert for Talk Club. We got a very interesting demographic when we got Liam to help us out, and then Tyson Fury joined us, and we got Tyson in a t-shirt, and he became one of our patrons, and we got a very different demographic again. And then Cherry Valentine is one of our patrons. So when unfortunately Cherry took his own life, but his dad was a big believer in what we were doing, so he became a patron for us. And again, we got a very different demographic, and it's really, really important for us to get that widespread of different types of men, because if you look up there, you go, okay, he represents me. But again, it's a scale. I mean, that's what we're finding, is sort of like we've trained over 365 captains, 366 captains, which are the blokes who run the groups. And the drop-off rate between training up a captain and then setting up a club, we say to 2 to 3 men per club, 2 to 3 captains a club. So that drops off, so it's quite hard for us to sort of like to keep that going. So I've just employed someone off beer, and I'll tell you about the beer in a sec. But trying to keep that community going and trying to keep it's built to be where, I mean, human sustainability is built to grow sustainably and grow organically, but it's quite hard to sort of to manage that levels of keeping people interested, because I think we're hitting low hanging fruit at the moment, and there's a few million men that I still need to get. I'm going to get some bars of chocolate and some beer. Yeah. You talk, entertain them.
But I think what you're saying there, because I was thinking about it when you were speaking, it's that sort of like, we're trying to be, one of the reasons I started, because I was a small business owner and I was like, no one's listening to me because it's just me. So that's one of the reasons I started the network. Like, how do I create a voice for all those small business owners who are feeling the same, that no one's listening to us? if we all come together, and there's, in my head, 20,000's the, membership number that I'm like, no one can not listen to us now. I don't know where that came from. I did it because I was like, I want to create a voice for us all so that we can all collectively be going to, our politicians, our MPs and stuff and say, well, there's actually 200 of us at the moment, needs a couple more zeros, who feel like this, so will you start listening to us now? But then there's also the challenge when you do that of making sure everyone feels listened to within that community so that when I say something and they disagree with me, they don't feel that they can't disagree. So it's trying to create that, and I think what we're both trying to do is create those sort of like safe spaces for that to happen within our communities, and that's quite a difficult thing to do. But not apparently if you have beer and chocolate, which is what we both went for. Yeah, chocolate. It's in the box. There's a whole box. Oh, here. Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm going to talk about beer for a second, because basically, Talk Club is all. The idea of Talk Club is to be where men are. So we're in football clubs, we're working with rugby clubs, we're working with, the idea is to sort of like, if you make it comfortable for them, like with Steve, I did it as a pub tour. For those who've been, sorry if I repeat myself, but when we talked about this 2 or 3 years ago, we did it as a pub tour. We went to 50 venues up and down the country, and the idea was where men were, I was going to show the film, and then I leave a Talk Club in my wake. And just before lockdown, we wanted to create a non-alcoholic beer, right? And because I love pubs are great places. I grew up in pubs, Steve grew up in pubs, but we know that the connection between alcohol and depression. So we went, well, what if we create a non-alcoholic beer? What if we create an awesome non-alcoholic beer? And this is what it is. It's called Clearhead. So I'm going to pass some of these around. Put your hand in here. I'm going to hand one out in a second. So what we do with this is that we get 5% of these sales, but this little yellow beacon of joy is it works on so many different levels. Like I've employed someone off the sale of these this year, right? We picked up best part of 30 grand, and I've employed someone off this beer. These beers go into someone's hand, and you read about how you out of 10. You read about why we're important. You sort of beer and you believe into what we're doing, and also this goes into pubs, and pubs are our venues. So suddenly it's like our one in Stroud exists purely because they started selling Clearhead, and we've only just started. So unless someone wants to try one. But it's non-alcoholic. It's non-alcoholic.
Do you want me to do the casting with you?
Go on, you go.
Yeah, okay, so I don't actually, I've got kind of two different stories. So we did the summit and we wanted something, we were like, we want to give something to everybody to say thanks for coming. But like, what the hell do you give sustainability people? You are like the hardest people to please when it comes to trying to do something nice, because they're like, well, what are you giving away? We don't need another tote bag. Do you know you need to use a tote bag 10, 20,000 times before a plastic bag? And do you know the carbon footprint? And I was just like, oh, for God's sake, right. So at the summit, the theme of the summit was seed, feed and grow. We kind of had these kind of elements of the event. So 2 days before the summit, I was like, I want everyone to leave really inspired, and we've not got a closing speech, and shit, the closing speech is me. Like, we need to give them something to kind of apologise for that, like, end of the day. So we actually got a little company to do some little seed bombs, which, I mean, you can't be angry about that, can you? So I'm giving you some nature. So I've basically got loads left. So if anyone wants to do some seed bombing, either in Cornwall or to take home and grow the seeds of Goodfest, got some of them. I haven't got loads though, because I only bought a small bag with me. But this is something else I did, which was, I didn't get any money for it though. It was just an idea I had, and I just went for it. But it was about like, how do you connect with the right audience in the right place? Kind of what you were talking about with the beer. So it's kind of pertinent. It's weird because I didn't know you were bringing beer and you didn't know I was bringing chocolate. We've just come with the same story again. But I was at, just going to name drop Westminster Palace.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah, for the Better Business Act day. And they'd got Tony's Chocolonely to brand some chocolate bars. And I was like, that's such a good idea. And Tony's Chocolonely were there, and I was like, look, I've been working with a charity, talking to this charity called Earth Percent for ages, and I love what they do, and I'm trying to work out how to do some work with them, and I think there's something here. Has anyone here heard of Earth Percent as a charity? Yeah, so it's founded by Brian Eno, and it's a charity that musicians and creatives can donate to, and they will then give out those funds to climate action groups, essentially. So as a musician, you can donate a percentage of your tour fees or your merch or royalties or whatever to Earth Percent, and they will donate that to climate action charities. There's lots and lots of musicians who support Earth Percent. And I'd been to a Greener festival a few months before, and Brian Eno was talking, and they'd just done something really cool. So has anyone heard about the Faith in Nature's Nature in the Boardroom thing? I feel like, that's the audience for this. Brian Eno had done something where now as a singer or songwriter, you can put nature as a co-writer within your songs, and then that money goes to Earth Percent. And I was like, I like that, because it's cleverer than just give some money. You're going into the system and changing it. And I've been trying to work with them because we work at a lot of music festivals, so I work with a lot of artists. And I was like, I want to let artists know about Earth Percent. We can put something in the dressing rooms. If you give me some collateral, I'll put it out. And they're like, no, we don't make things. We don't make things. Even our T-shirts are old T-shirts which we print on. And I was like, okay, they're really kind of strict about this. But then I thought, they're going to want it on a chocolate bar. They can't be annoyed if I can get some chocolate bars. So I said to Earth Percent, look, I've met Tony's Chocolonely. I've got this idea. We put your logo on the chocolate bars, and then they're going to want the chocolate bars, and then they're going to want to support the charity. So we made loads of Tony's Chocolonely chocolate bars with Earth Percent on. We had it was great. And this thanks to Tony's as well, because we just did it because we thought it was a really good idea and we would get loads of Tony's Chocolonely. But we got these bars, which are Earth Percent branded, and we got some branded for the 2 music festivals we did them at, which was Blue Dot and Kendall Calling. And it was a really great opportunity to engage with artists about climate action backstage, because they're backstage, they want some decent fare. Everyone was really happy to get some Tonys, and everyone was actually really happy to listen to the story. And it was great because we suddenly had artists like Dick and Dom. I thought I'd start on the big one. Max Richter, who I absolutely adore. I was just thrilled to be speaking to him anyway. He was like, well, I'm going to show Brian this text. And I was like, yeah, you let Brian know that I did this. And just loads of artists, Pavement, lots of Adam Buxton, just loads of people that were at the festivals, and we were just getting all the artist liaison to talk to them. And as a result of that, loads of them are now starting to get involved in Earth Percent. So I guess mine too is if you see a good opportunity or an idea to connect ideas together and you see that's going to be the way to communicate, do it. We did it because we saw it was a good opportunity to do a good thing. And it's good for you because I've now got about 12 chocolate bars for people to have. So yeah, I've got some chocolate bars and I've got some seeds. I'm so glad we both bought stuff. It'd have been so awkward if I bought nothing.
Well, I heard that, and I've got something to cut now.
How long have I got? Because
5 minutes and open it up to people.
okay. Well, I was going to say because unless you want someone to go somewhere else, we could probably open it up. Yeah. So please ask some questions. So. Who's got a question? Or I will pick on people. Because I've just seen...
Or an observation or a sharing of your own answers to these questions.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Well, I was going to pick on Matt, because I've just seen that Matt's in the audience. I haven't seen him for a while.
Hi, that was really interesting. Okay, cool. So I've got a thing, and I want to know how you got your charity. My thing is a thing that I want to get off the ground. So I really want to know how you got your charity off the ground. What was your sort of first 2 or 3 steps, say?
Charity commission is a pain in the arse, but it needs to be. So it took us 8 months to get the charity going. We were set up as a CIC for 2 years. Proof of concept, basically, is where we went. And we were debating whether we were going to even stay as a CIC, to be honest. A CIC is very, very easy to set up. Community interest company, for people that I'm pretty sure everyone knows that. But because we got a proof of concept, and because we've got everything was based around how you out of 10s, we've got the numbers, we can see that it was improving. And we were doing it. We were doing it during lockdown, so we applied during lockdown, so it did back up a bit.
But the process is quite there's stuff like you can't ring them, like they have to. There's like an email, they come back to you, and it takes long time to do. But it's actually not that hard. The actual forms themselves, you sort of like all the policies and build a board of trustees, and they help you way through it as well. So it just takes a long time. And they do all their checks on you, and you have to build your board of trustees, and you have to sort of like almost, everyone can say to me, oh, you're going to let go of something that you've created, and I was like, no, I'm not, I'm bringing in a bigger team. Like 6 of us started Talk Club. So I to me, it's always about that team and making sure that you've got good people around you, because it is quite, it's heavy. It's heavy because it's something you're passionate about normally. Can I ask you what your charity is? No, but what is it going to be? Okay, no, sorry. Okay, well, yeah, but I'm saying, but sometimes it can be one of those things where you are like, if you're so passionate about it, you need to surround yourself with good people is where I was going to go.
You can see the text really well.
I could try to yell, but that's never a good idea. Thank you. Hello. There we go. I'm curious about how you follow the thread of a great idea. So it's always, maybe it's not always, but it seems easy in theory to have a great idea. Oh, wouldn't it be interesting if we did this sort of thing? And then what? I'm curious how you each took the next step from that's a cool idea to that's actually something that I'm going to go execute.
For me, it was, I'm very single-minded from advertising-wise. I'm very single-minded. So So for me, where I sort of go, I'm very single-minded. To me, I created Steve, the film, to save the next Steve. I wanted to save one person's life, right? And then when we set up Talk Club, it was, I want to help the next Steve, and I want to help the next me, because I don't want other friends to feel the way that I felt. And I suppose years of experience, and actually just going, I stress test everything. But I'm very single-minded about what I like. I back myself quite a lot in sort of like, my wife didn't want me to make the film. Loads of people say Talk Club will not work. I love it when people tell me I can't do something. So to me, it's actually, but I have to be very single-minded, because if you like the analogy that we used to use at uni was like learning advertising. If you throw 5 balls at someone, they won't catch anything. You throw 1 ball, they'll catch it, right? So just keep very, very single-minded. And then, like, persistence. Like BBF turned me down 3 times for the Clearhead. They told me, Ben, it won't work. They told me to piss, but Sam told me to piss off 3 times, right? And I was like, no, mate, it's going to be good. We came back with more research. It's going to be great. It's a great name, Clearhead. It's going to. Now it's their biggest selling can, right? So belief in yourself. But it's sort of, but back to that confidence thing. When you are an introvert, you do have confidence in yourself, because I don't need you lot to say I'm brilliant. I sort of know whether I'm not or I am. It sounds very arrogant, but it's actually that's a confidence thing. That's where it comes down to introvert and extrovert.
This is where we're going to have different answers.
Good.
Yeah. Sorry, what's your name? Elena. Elena. So I told my little sob story about Better Not Stop. 2011 that happened, right? Okay, which was ages ago. And so I was like, Better Not Stop. That's it. That's a thing. I don't really know what that is, but I'm going to kind of do something with it. And went travelling and wrote about that. And I was like, came back to the UK, put on some events. I used to do documentary screenings. Then we'd talk about them and. Talks and lectures and stuff. Never really made any money from them, was making money from other things. And Better Not Stop ended up just kind of being this thing that never made me any money, like a hobby sort of concept. And then after I came back from my trip away in 2017, so 6 years later, I was like, I want to have something to do with social impact. I'm going to use that name for the name of my business. And I registered it I think I'd even registered it as a CIC a couple of years before, and then done nothing with it. So I actually didn't register it as a business till May 2019. And then 2020 was COVID, so I made no money from that business, and I worked 2 jobs to pay all the bills and keep things going. And it wasn't really till 21, 22 that the business started to kind of like gain any traction. So it was kind of like, you know, I should have let go. You know, it was like 10 years until that kind of like, that I knew there was like something, but I actually would not have actually guessed it was what it ended up being. Elizabeth Gilbert's written a book called Big Magic where she talks about how like ideas come in and out and might be somebody else's. And I thought, well, maybe it's somebody else's, but it's kind of started to be what it is. But I got the same. I started Better Not Stop and then the Better Business Network, which were two completely different businesses, business models, and people were like, well, you've just got to choose one. You've got to do one. And I was like, well, I kind of want to do both though. And everyone's like, yeah, but you can't, like, no one's going to take you seriously if you're not, like, looking at you, trying to run two businesses at the same time. And I was like, well, I'm just going to put a conference in there too. And I just feel a bit like, it is back to the introvert thing. It's just like, you know, for me, I was like, right, what's the worst for me that's going to happen? I've worked in pubs my whole life. Worst for me that was going to happen was what happened at COVID, which is I ended up working in a pub kitchen as a chef for Eat Out to Help Out. And now that was hell. And it actually was not too bad because I was still working on the stuff that I really enjoyed doing at the side. So for me personally, I always thought it's like, what's the worst that's going to happen? I was like, the worst that can happen for me is I completely run out of money. I need to go live with my mum. Now, my mum is sat at the back, so I'm going to be really careful what I say next. But I was like, but that actually doesn't seem too bad. Like, I kind of would like to live with my mum for a bit. And what my mum has done previously when that's had to happen, after about a month gone, rent £600, by the way. And I'm like, well, I could live in London for that. She's like, yes, you could. Or you could stay living in this village with me. And I'm like, maybe I'll move to London. She's like, wow, good idea, Hannah. So I kind of always seen it as that, you know, and I say that as someone, you know, without kids, without a mortgage, all the kind of responsibilities that we get in adult life. But I've always just thought, what's the worst that's going to happen? And then also, if it doesn't work out at the time, that doesn't mean the idea and the concept might not work out later. So it's kind of the like, just believe in yourself, but also like, don't stress about it too much if it's not quite happened yet. Because there's stuff you read about where someone goes, I had this really great idea, I've solved a problem, and then I got some SEIS funding of £250,000, and now we've got 20,000 people working for us. And you're just like, no, it's not that easy. Yeah. So yes, to be single-minded, but more single-minded in your belief that it's going to work out however it needs to work out at the end for you.
I mean, I have 100 ideas. I fail 99 ideas out of 100. Like, but when I can see something where I can taste it, I know that's going to work. I'm not going to let go of it. Yeah. Like, and that's the thing. I mean, I burn ideas. Well, I burn through ideas, and we were described as an entrepreneurial charity the other day, and I like that. I like that because and we're doing a move around of our board of trustees at the moment. So we're interviewing for a new chair, and we fail fast and cheap. Like, that's the way that we try and do stuff, and like, because we're co-CEOs and we're very different personalities, and Gav is my best friend, but he's also a therapist, and he's also he's the hardest person. If I can convince him that this is going to work, then it's going to work, right? So he'll stress test the fuck out of an idea. But then suddenly we can make things really, really quickly, and we just sort of, once we got it, we zoom with it. Like, literally, the way that things have unfolded. When we look at our numbers compared to other charities of us, it's 166,000 charities in the UK, right? And we're tiny, but we're punching way above our weight because of being bold with ideas, and just sort of going like, we believe in something, and then we're just going to run with it. But it's not sort of like if it's dragging, let go of it. Like, that's I mean, I burn an idea quicker than I can, like, if it comes out of my mouth, I go, no, I don't like that anymore. It's one of those ones. So, but when you commit to it, like, commit. Oh, God, I could be here all week. One. Oh, you got. I'm trying to think. There's probably one's in this week. Okay, we'll go there, and I'll come back to some. Any other questions?
Good job you're all sitting on the aisle. That's making my job easy. Thanks.
People who engage in purpose work tend to do a few different things. And you talked about having to do a few different things to build what you do now, right? But in terms of like your personal capacity and energy, where you want to deploy it to do the things you want to do, nice purpose bit, the warm cuddly inside, whatever it may be, do you have enough space for stuff that you consider the greatest priority at the moment?
That's a tough one.
No.
Do you want to go first? It's hard. I mean, it's hard because what you've got to do is you've got to earn money.
Oh, and how many other things do you do?
I don't do lots of other things. I'm salaried by Talk Club, so I'm salaried. I'm the CEO for 4 days a week, and I kept that day free for filmmaking. That fifth day. So financially, I mean, we're singing like literally. It's sort of I'm trying to employ more people, so I have to do less. But I think a lot of that has been about me. I've been quite lucky in my career, and people could argue you create your own luck, but I've been quite lucky in my career where I've been able to take whatever I was doing and turn it to how I want to get my purpose out. So when I came back to the UK, I ended up working in an ad agency, which I didn't particularly want to go back to an ad agency, but then suddenly I started finding purpose inside the briefs, and I was turning everyone to my way of thinking, working from the inside out. Finances are the hardest thing because you sort of like going like is actually trying to build us. We paid ourselves £100 a week for a year when we started Talk Club, and I had to freelance, had to keep all those things going, but it's back to that juice. Is the juice worth the squeeze for me? It's just sort of like going like, you know, I only work on projects that improve me, make me better, and I've been lucky enough to sort of up until probably the past couple of months financially, but I've been lucky enough to sort of to keep everyone reasonably happy, keep the kids in sustainable fish fingers, and sort of and try oxymoron and do what I want to do, but I'm nowhere near financially what I was when I was in advertising. But I made that decision when I wanted to walk Bella to school. I sort of like I thirded my salary straight away. So it's all, but it's actually it's need versus want. I mean, what do you want and what do you need? That's how I've unpicked those.
It's hard because I've always been self-employed since uni, since I started my Monday club night, and I would just work lots of freelance stuff in my 20s, and then I'd just go travelling. And I think a lot of that was from that worry, you know, with my dad dying so quickly. I was like, the minute I had kind of over £1,000 in the bank, I'd be like, right, I'm going to go visit a country, I'm going to go do a thing. And then I kind of got to, you know, my 30s, and like everybody else had like grown up and I had not, and I was like, oh, maybe I need to like do something that's going to earn some money. And I worked in some creative agencies and earned okay money, and really found no purpose in that. And then I kind of saved a big chunk and went on my kind of big trip. Kind of financially, how do I earn my money? Well, Better Not Stop has been making money since 2021. We earn that money through B Corp certification, impact strategies for businesses. We do lots of sustainability and audience behaviour stuff at live events. And then the Better Business Network is a membership organisation, but that's a slightly different model because 20% of that membership money goes to high impact causes like Client Earth. It pays for James, our community manager, and Ryan, our content producer. So at the moment, they're kind of like one is definitely balancing the other, but I'm actually quite fine with how that's working because I know that the network will overall have a bigger impact than kind of potentially some of the agency work that we're doing. So I think it's just kind of in a different stage of its life. I'm salaried from the business, but not a huge amount. I'm on 25 a year, but I don't need a lot. I live on a boat, so I need some windows at the moment, and and that's kind of about it. You know, I don't have like huge wants and needs, and I didn't grow up with a lot of money, so you know I'm quite minimalistic in kind of the stuff that I care about. The stuff I care about is experiences. How I balance that, I'm if anyone in the room knows me, they know that I work really, really hard, but I kind of like, I can't work past dinner time, for example. You know, some people like work, I just can't. I physically need to recharge my batteries. I do have to work weekends sometimes still, but then I have the opportunity to do something like the next 2 days, which is, I know this is going to be really valuable for my soul. So maybe I could be building my businesses quicker if I let go of more stuff, but I'm kind of comfortable with having my evenings, having my weekends, and it's just taking me slightly longer to get to that stage. and I don't put maybe as much like thing in like how much money I'm earning. I'm more interested that I just love what I'm doing, so I'm just very lucky I get to do both, I think.
It's interesting. I heard that question slightly differently, and I think with the Goodfest example that Matt and I and the others have sort of worked through, it's that idea of if it's voluntary and discretionary time when it starts, how you sustain your energy for that on top of all the other noise in your life, and how you also justify it to the people around you when you're not, like my kids said to me this morning, why aren't you home tonight? Why are you always working in the evenings? I run a screen agency, I have film screenings and networking events and things that I do for my day job. And I think the sort of emotional trade-offs that you make with yourself, so, yes, it is another night away from the family, but it's something that I believe in, I think it's important to invest in, I believe there'll be a ripple effect. I don't actually, I've got, and I'll say this quite openly to you now, I've got quite cynical about what events can do, like getting people in a room talking about stuff. Is it making change? I don't know. I have to believe that it is, and I'm really intrigued to see where this 2 days goes. But for me, that's the sort of emotional, I think, like the keeping yourself lifted up, keeping yourself believing in what you're doing, which you're making sacrifices for, is purposeful, is really hard. And I think it is people around you. So whenever I need an injection of energy or purpose or belief, I talk to Matt, and that's always incredibly helpful. Okay. No, those good things, don't make it negative. I'm really interested, sorry, I hope you don't mind, but because we've got like 5 more minutes before we go to lunch and we've been sitting down for a long time, I'm just wondering if anybody else in the room has been answering these questions that they put up for themselves and wants to share a bit of their story. If you do, that's great. You've probably all had ideas and done things with them, which, just because we're at the front doesn't mean we've got the, the authority on that. So if somebody else wants to share, that'd be great. And then we'll take ourselves for a little walk, lunch, fresh air, and revitalise ourselves. Thank you.
Hi, so I just want to kind of share from a charity perspective and an ideas perspective. For me, there's the amount of ideas that we have within our team at Pride at Cornwall. We kind of like throw things all the time, but actually, do you know what? For us, we just share them, because there's never enough time to be able to do all the things that you want to be able to do to be able to change the world. But there are amazing people around us that have the time, potentially have the capacity, have the energy, have the know-how, and it's just getting those ideas to absolutely everyone and talk to everyone to actually share them.
Yeah, I mean, talking. I mean, like we do. We love working with our charities. We love sharing those things, and we're quite in that thing of, back to the question of ones I've let go. It's like, God, what have I let go? They're so out of my head so quickly. Opportunities that I've turned down. We got approached by the Monster Raving Loony Party for their calendar, and I was like. So they want to raise some money for us, and I'm sitting there going, well, okay, like, our whole thing is to talk to all men, even people who support the Monster Raving Loony Party. And I was like, so I'm sitting there talking it over with Gav, and me and him are talking to ourselves, and we're going like, are we really having this conversation? Are we going to align ourselves to a political party? And they've got some amazing people. Oh God, this would be brilliant. But it was my creative side of it going, this would be a great creative story. And probably not the grown-up adult charity that I sort of have to sort of. So I rang one of my board of trustees, and I was like, okay, Richie, we've been approached by the Monster. No. So I know. Okay, great. One of the trustees said no. That was great. I can leave it alone now. What do you want to get out of this lot? So what do you want to get out the other way around? Because what we're standing up here, what I want to get out of you lot is that. At the back, over here, there's loads of badges. There's how are you out of 10 badges. There's loads of Talk Club flyers. I want all the men in the room, everyone who knows a man, to join Talk Club. Talkclub.org. That's what I want out of you lot. I want everyone to be wearing a badge. I want you all to be asking yourselves how you are out of 10 and being honest with yourself. Don't have 7. You can't have 7. 6.1, 6.9 or 7.1. You're all doing it in your head. I'm a 7, right? 7's an okay. I don't want okay. I want you to give me a 7.1. I want you to go, I'm slightly better than okay, or I'm slightly lower than okay, right? So 6.9 or 7.1. That's what I want out of you lot. I want you to take one of our flyers. I want you to take a badge. I want you to buy our beer. I want you to look after your mental fitness. That's what I want out of you lot.
Thanks. That's a hard question. I should have been asked that before. Yeah, I've got thanks. I mean, I don't really need anything out of anybody in this room. I'm good.
They all need to join the
Yeah, I mean, you could all join the network. Financially, that would be very helpful. Yeah, okay. Quick maths. I guess, I think we've not really talked about any of our failures. Like, if you came to the summit, there's me worrying about giving everyone seed bombs as they're leaving, right? Everyone goes to the after party. We had to make a bigger venue because we had like 500 people register more than we expected. And I got there and everyone's drinking out of single-use plastic cups. And I was like, this is shit. I was like, what a way to end a sustainability summit. And, it was a mistake and, messed up. And I guess there's other things that we've messed up on that we haven't talked about. And, the whole, talk doesn't have to be about failure. But I guess I would say if there's anything that I've personally said that you felt challenging or disagreed with or whatever, I definitely think there are those opportunities in these rooms when we're all quite passionate about what we've come to listen to about and what we feel and what we think about business and life and stuff, is if there has been something there that you completely disagree with, one, please don't tell me or tag me on anything on social media. I'm really happy not knowing. But also, just maybe ask yourself why you're challenged by what I've said. Like, personally, what is there kind of in your gut that's challenged you? We were having a conversation outside about one of the challenges I was having around one of these questions, and I started crying. So I was like, we can't talk about that. We're just going to have to bypass that as a conversation topic because I don't want to cry on stage. And I was like, because I just want to work through that on my own later. So if there's anything, I guess that I think we're all going to get loads out of the next 2 days. But if there are any of those moments where you're feeling like, oh, that doesn't chime with what I'm feeling, just ask yourself why you're challenged by that, because it's probably an internal thing. So that's what I would ask you to do. Thanks.